Williams Weekly this week. So we heard Jake Connor before talking about like his concern about players coming up against, well, potentially coming up against Super League players after just a couple of weeks now. We spoke last year about like how can we make the Challenge Cup a little bit more interesting, right? Yeah. And then the RFL decided, okay, we're going to introduce the pro clubs at an earlier stage, and we was like, this is great. Now in hindsight, we look at it and we think, right, is this in the best interest of the welfare of the amateur players that are not full-time, that perhaps not trained consistently for months? They've not had the months of pre-season training that Super League players have had. You know, are we doing them, you know, is this dangerous? Or am I being a little bit too sensitive over this?
You make a good point there, because there was a team pulled out of the Cup and they cited this very reason. Amateur clubs aren't supposed to be playing at this time of year, are they? Due to the information they received regarding concussions and head injuries and things like that. The rules are relaxed for teams in the Challenge Cup, which seems a little bit balmy, doesn't it, really? When we're talking about the Challenge Cup, I mean, I think it's great that the Super League teams and the Championship and League One teams are coming in earlier. I mean, if we're just talking about the competition itself, I think it's really, we all want that like giant killing moment. I know it's never going to happen against a Super League team, obviously, but I think like some of the NCL teams, the SCL teams, coming against League One teams, there's potential there that it could create a bit of drama, and that's what we need in rugby league. So on that side of it, I'm all for it. However, you've made a very valid point. These amateur players, that they're not training as consistent as the semi-pro players, and yeah, I do think there is something that needs to be looked at there.
We'll bring it closer to home. So we've got Telford Raiders. They didn't play this weekend because the weather was shocking up north.
Yep.
Shocker. However, there is a potential. Telford Raiders play Rochdale Mayfield.
Yep.
Beat them.
Yep.
And then face Oldham. Right.
Yeah.
Now, you and I were laughing at that. They was like, this is brilliant. You know, you think, you know the personalities in Telford Raiders coming. You know what? You know, we've been to watch Oldham play.
Yeah.
You know, they're called Ruffians for a freaking reason. Like, you know what I mean? It's a serious outfit. They're just getting stronger and stronger. You know, and then you're like, is this like, dare I say, duty of care, looking after players? Yes, everybody wants to test themselves on the highest level they can, but is it dangerous? And I don't really know what the answer is. I'd be interested to see what the listeners and the viewers think about this, because, you know, God forbid something happens and someone gets seriously hurt. You know, are we saying that the laws of the game will prevent that?
But you can get seriously hurt playing against, other amateur players on a Saturday in the middle of the summer.
But you do a risk assessment on this, Karl.
I'll just give you my opinion. If you're giving me the opportunity to play against a semi-pro club or a pro club, mate, I don't fucking care about risk assessments. I want to play in that match.
Yeah, I know you do. And I remember I played GB under 23s, right, when I was in the Navy, in the Marines. I was never in the Navy. I was fucking in the Marines. Right, we played Great Britain under 23s, right, and I got the absolute shite kicked out of me. It was more than a couple of levels above where we were. Right, now in theory, it was like, it's an amazing, great game, you know what I mean? It really was a great spectacle. But I freaking knew about it, like, you know, and that's what we're talking about here. And I'm not, you know, I'm like you. I'll get involved I'll get amongst it. That's what you start playing league for. But in today's day and age, I'm just like, ooh, this. And Jake Connor, right, is carrying concern about this.
Yeah,
you know, so he's obviously picking that up from the changing rooms, perhaps, from other players around him. You know, I think the only thing you can hope for is that if you do come across one of those top level teams or even second tier teams or whatever, is that they blood a load of youngsters, and, you know, that gives you a little bit of a chance. But, you know, it's interesting.
Yeah,
in a collision sport like this, it's an interesting.
Yeah, I mean, player safety is important, isn't it? I mean, maybe bridging the gap somewhere would be we still keep the same format to the Challenge Cup, but it's a little bit later on in the season, so at least the community clubs have had more time to train and prepare. What do you think? Meet in the middle.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a vast. I mean, you've only got to look at like League One Championship teams that are not full-time pros, and then you look at the sometimes the skills is very similar. The skill level is very similar for most players. What's different is the conditioning. Yeah,
conditioning, fitness levels. Yeah, the impact on the tackles. Yeah, I mean, I'm in two minds with this because I'm.
Well, luckily, it doesn't involve us, does it? Like, we're not going to get smashed on the pitch.
Because we are in this new age, aren't we? Of player safety is so important, but then at the same time, if you ask me personally, I don't want to give up that chance.
You zoom out on this, right? You zoom out on it and just look, okay, risk assessment. All right, okay. So this big thing about like preventing concussion and all this. Anyway, we've brought in these rules. But it's the cup, so scrap them rules, right? That's your first strike. Then it's like, okay, right, next thing we're going to have these amateur players that are not even part-time, like just, it's a hobby, and that's that. And we're going to get them to play these full-time pros.
Actually, no, because they'll be playing League One sides first, won't they? And just some championship sides in there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could be coming up against I don't know, a York or a Bradford Bulls or in round. Yeah, you are right.
So
I mean, they are still semi-pro. But only just. Yeah, only just.
But some of them players were full-time professionals.
Yeah, 100%.
The last season, and anyway, it's just let's just.
We're just not coming. We're not coming to a conclusion, are we? We're torn, aren't we?
You want to see it, you want to be involved in it, but you don't want the freaking concussion. You don't want the injuries.
Yeah.
We were speaking to a player last week, preparing our documentary, and he was talking about how his life was completely changed because of brain injury, and he was the biggest scrapper on the pitch. It was absolutely part of his game, but it completely changed his life. And and that's kind of what you're dealing with, potentially. Hopefully everything goes well. Anyway, Jake Connor, voice of reason.
We need to put this out in the comments for please put your comment in the section below and let us know what you think, because I think we haven't really come up with an answer, have we? Typical Williams Weekly. It's a talking point that comes to no conclusion, but I'm interested to see what people think.